So you should be seeing the World Water Day screen here. Join us, and yeah, we're going to go for about 90 minutes. And so we've got a full program, like I said. For those who don't know, I'm Paul Baines. I'm the CSJ Blue Community Coordinator, and here we are, 2021. Lots to think about in terms of the theme this year, which is the value of water, honoring the value of water. And I just would love to say thanks for coming today. I hope you've had a lovely morning connecting with your local water body. If you wanted to say hi in the chat box, you could introduce yourself and also the water body that you're most connected towards. I know many of you know each other already, but it's another chance to see what water bodies we're close to as well.
Feel free.
I put together a little list here. So if you are going to be doing a short presentation today, maybe take a look of where you are in the program to take note of that, because I'm going to try to follow this. Some people wanted to go earlier, some wanted to go later. I've also got 3 little sections of the program with video guests. So here we'll be switching to a pre-recorded video. The first one will be called Be the Water with Dr. Deb Denard, who spoke at the Toronto House about 2 years ago now when I did a presentation there. Then we've got Mike Bulkwell and Dorothy Taylor giving you all a special, one-of-a-kind World Water Day message. And then we've got one with Bruce McComber and John Miller. John Miller is with Water First. We had a Water First event a few weeks ago now. Bruce is up in Sudbury, who gave a co-presentation with me a few years ago as well. And lastly, our last video guest is Layla George. So why don't we go right into it with so maybe just take a look at the person who's ahead of you if you are presenting. If you're not presenting, now's a chance just to sort of get comfortable. If you did want to present something and didn't get in touch with me ahead of time, maybe give me a note in the chat box, because otherwise I'm not quite sure how to know you want to go. And so you take a look at who's before you on this program here, so you'll be ready and I'll be ready to give you a little platform here. So today's theme is honoring the value of water. And I wanted to start, and I'll pin your video, I'll try to find you, Sister Rita Gordon, with an opening poem that I know you wanted to share. That was, so where is Rita?
Right here.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna make your video large here, 1 second. Okay, hi there. Good to see you.
Hi. Okay. Nibi, our precious sister. O cherished sister Nibi, lo, aqua, water, we know you by many names, just as we know your creator, our creator, by many names. We call you lake and river, stream and pond, waterfalls and cascades, gentle rain and refreshing morning mist. We know you as ocean and seas. We know you as oceans and seas, waves and surfs, fresh water and salt water, icebergs, Arctic ice, and permafrost. We call you sleet when, with needle-like sharpness, you prick our faces as though we were pincushions. We call you snowflakes when, with gentle, cooling freshness, you land softly on our noses and cheeks and reveal your delicate pattern on our mitts and gloves. We see your integrity and beauty in freshly fallen snow, blanketing fields and backyards. We know you too as thunder clouds and wispy little cirrus clouds against an azure blue sky. Our Creator has given you gifts and powers for the well-being of all creation. You are life giver. Deprived of you, we die of thirst. You cleanse and purify us, heal and restore us. You refresh us and amaze us with your beauty. You have deadly powers too. The power of typhoons, monsoons, torrential rains, hurricanes, and floods. These powers you use to rebalance your natural cycles. We, in our folly and hunger for wealth, power, and control, have outpaced your millennia's old hydrological cycle. We have put all creation in our common home at risk of global warming, ever escalating climate change. Oh, ancient elder sister, we admit we have too often taken you for granted, wasted you, abused you, even contaminated and sickened you. Forgive us, our life-giving sister. Forgive us, our creator, God. Teach us to listen, to repent of our folly, and to cherish our precious sister, Nibi. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sister Rita. That was lovely. And so for those who have just been joining, we are gathering here today for World Water Day, united as a Blue community, the Federation of Sisters of St. Joseph. Hi, I'm Paul, your host for today and your Blue community coordinator. We've got a full program today of pre-recorded videos and some short presentations from you and your peers. And I've got a schedule I've put up. I'll put it up again in a second. And so we'll be bouncing around between videos and some slideshows and some images. I really want to appreciate everyone's creativity in going in and planning for today. Especially wanted to thank the steering committee that I share this work with. We meet every 6 weeks. And I'll give a few more Blue community updates near the end of the event. But to move things along, we'll do a couple more presentations. I'm going to go over to Sister Pat Carter for a few words.
Okay, so I was asked to communicate or talk about what water has meant in my career. And given that my career has changed over the years, I'd like to talk about how teaching science was a way to help young people. I taught young girls in a particular way. The value of water, because water is the universal solvent. Water is one of the only liquids that when it freezes, it expands, it gets larger. Really important to know if you've got a case of Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi in the back of your vehicle during a very, very cold night, because it will explode trying to get out of the cans. And I think that, we take water for granted. That's what Rita just in her prayer, we take it for granted. And the one experience that I had of taking water for granted, and that was like the water that is all around us. We have water everywhere. We could probably, some of us, throw a stone to a body of water that is close to us. And I took that for granted until one summer, a long time ago, I went to study in Peru, and we landed in Lima. And if you've been to Lima, you know that it's on the Andes, and it is very brown, especially when you go into the poorer parts of the country. It's monochromatic and it's brown everywhere. And I couldn't figure out why I was feeling so sad and depressed. And we did go to the jungle, which was a real relief, because the sky, you could see the blue sky, you could see the trees that were green and everything, but the water was still brown. And it was only when I came back from being in Peru that I realized that I count on being able to see bodies of water around me, because everywhere in Northern Ontario that I've ever lived, I've lived on the side of a big body of water that has had an effect on me that I didn't even know it was having because I took it for granted. So since that summer, I have never taken water for granted in my environment. I haven't taken it for granted. I enjoy it. In the summer, I spend as much time by the water that I'm able to, because it restores my soul, as it says in the Psalm. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, for that as well. Today's program is about honoring the value of water, both personally here at home, around the world. I'll speak later on about an event we're doing with WaterAid Canada about some of the international connections between water as a first medicine. The next part of our program is going to a song by that Sister Pat was wanted to talk about in terms of I am the river. Is she there at all to say a few words ahead of Patricia St. Louis? I see you there. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to say?
St. Louis.
Hi. Go ahead.
Hi. Go ahead. Okay. Well, I was going to talk about the painting. I guess you're playing the song as well. Is that correct, Paul?
I can. Yeah, I was going to play the song.
Okay. Well, I could do the little chat talk first.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I think the painting, you've all seen it. I am the river and the river is me. It's very, I got a little cut picture of it right there. It speaks for itself and is a very strong piece. And I just want to tell you about how that happened to surface in my life. It emerged, first of all, the circle and the art by doing a mandala some many years ago. And it was done with pencil on black paper. And as you know, mandala is a very meditative kind of piece of art, and our unconscious just opens up. So the second part of what I want to say is that we in London were looking for an image and some words. Where I was part of a committee, integral ecology mapping committee, and we wanted a picture that's a few years ago. And we wanted a picture that we could offer to the sisters that they could put up maybe in their room someplace to help to heighten our awareness of integral ecology. So this is the picture that I dug up, and then I just happened to come across the words, I am the river and the river is me. Oh, it just felt so perfectly fitting. And I was very excited about that. So that is what we put together. So at the same time, where the words came from is I just happened to be doing some reading about the Maori people in New Zealand. And those words come from them, the tribal people there. And because they really believe that the human and water are especially intertwined. And I thought that is just so beautiful. I'd never thought of that before, but I've certainly had a lot of time to reflect on that statement and to read more and certainly learn that so what the Maori people did, they have a river called Wanagani, and they wanted it for 160 years. They tried to get the government to declare it as having all the qualities of a human person. And to them, this river was really sacred. And it went through their ancestors all believed that as well. So let's see, they went to the government and had this declared to be recognized as having all the legal rights of a human person, and that was in 2017. And I was really excited most recently to discover as well that other countries have moved in that same direction. And the interesting part is that those countries include Bangladesh, Ecuador, Colombia, Australia, and the United States. So for me, the putting all this together, the art gained new life, and so did I. And I really drew in a greater appreciation of that piece of art. And as a matter of fact, I also had these little pieces made. This is a sticker, and you can put it on your mail. And I had a friend that bought 300. It's kind of good. And so we have this other one that's just a little bit better to see. However, I have also done a new painting, which Paul had up there, that is in acrylic and shows a lot better than the colored pencils. Probably the last thing I want to say here is that I was delighted to be able to represent us and enter that piece of art in an art exhibit put together by a young woman, third-year law student at the university. And she wanted to do it on environmental art and the law. And so that was a rather nice, large gathering. And much to my surprise, someone wanted to buy the painting. So it went. I think that probably covers everything of significance I wanted to say and share with you. But I think it was the amazing evolution of that painting from something I did a long time ago that didn't have a particular meaning at the time, and then to let it just evolve and have new life by calling it forth for a purpose, like our Laudate Si work, and now this. It's very special.
Thank you for that beautiful description and background and context. I had the image up there. I took it down because I wanted to see you as well. So hopefully everyone got to see it up close as well as your stickers. We have some music coming up later. So do you mind if we skip the song for now, or do you want to play it?
It's up to you. Play it now. Play it now.
I will do it. Okay, here we go. I'll play it. I'll definitely play it. Here we go. Here we go. And after this, we are going to hear from Sister Linda Gregg and Mary Rowell. So this should, 1 second. Yep, this works. Here we go.
I am the river and the river is me, and I flow from the mountain through the valley to the sea. I roll and I wander and I sing life's song. The river runs deep and the river runs strong. I am the mountain and the mountain is me, and I reach from the heavens, part of God's majesty. I gather all the rain from the skies up above and send it down to earth, a sign of God's love. ocean, and the ocean is me. Giver of life with the wind so free. I roll and I thunder from the shallow to the deep. All around this world there is life in me. I am the land and the land is me. From the top of the mountain to the edge of the sea. The plants and the animals find life in me. From the largest of creatures to the mustard seed. And the river is me, and I flow from the mountain through the valley to the sea. I roll and I wander and I sing life's song. The river runs deep and the river runs strong.
That is a great song. Wow, I was dancing in the background a little bit there. So nice to have a mix of all these various art expressions. So thanks for bringing that to the group. I really appreciate it, and hope everybody else did as well. We are going to now go over to, like I said, Mary and Linda. I don't know how to do two people at once, but Sister Mary, you're on the big screen now. You're going to be reading a prayer for us, correct? From the World Water Day, a much longer prayer you prepared for today.
Yes. Thank you, Paul. We can probably, we're going to alternate the verses. It's a beautiful Mennonite prayer. It was written by Carol Penner. And with her permission, we adapted it a little and have her permission as well to use it. One of the things about it when we discovered it is it's a lovely reflection on water, but at the same time, it incorporates this great sort of concept of integral ecology. So Linda and I will alternate reading verses of this prayer. Thank you, God, for water, for its smooth cleanness as it runs from our taps, water that is safe for drinking, water that doesn't stop running. Thank you for the beautiful blues of lakes, for the chortling of streams, for the rushing of rivers, for the richness of water resources. I'm not sure where Linda is. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't find her on the thing to spotlight her. Maybe just keep going, Mary.
I'll knock on the office wall. If she's not there, I'll read the second verse.
No problem. I don't think she signed in. That's the thing. I don't see her name here.
I thought she had. I'll just go ahead then and finish reading the prayer. Thank you for the water from the skies, water that falls on gardens and crops, fueling green growth, food for the world. Thank you for water for fun, swimming pools filled with laughing children, and sprinklers making rainbows on the hottest days. Water is so ever present, so powerful and life-giving. Almost forget that it is a gift from you. We come with prayers today for people who are sick. We need your spirit of healing flowing into our lives. There are people here grieving the loss of loved ones. Comfort them with visions of eternal streams, where we have given up hope. Fill us now. Where we are lonely, fill us now. Where we can find no love in our hearts, fill us now. Forgive us for the living of parched lives, wastelands where we think only of ourselves. Spare no thoughts for those around us. Thank you for your presence, which bubbles up, refreshing and enlivening our hardest places. Today we pray for dry places in the world, for lands where people walk long distances for water, where weather patterns have changed and people wait for rain. We pray for countries where access to water becomes a weapon of oppression. Lord, give us a thirst for righteousness and justice. Help us work for peace in our world. For there is so much water, and yet many are thirsty. And we pray all of this in Jesus' name, who is the living water for us all. And to this we say, Amen.
Amen to that, Sister Mary. Thank you for reading that and preparing as part of the ecology committee for today as well. I just wanted to acknowledge that we've got 71 devices. We have many more people. I'm probably gonna guess. Mute yourself, Mary. We probably have probably about 90 of us, because I know some of you are sharing a device with someone else. And so, yeah, I just want to acknowledge that as a Blue community here, we are united across the Federation, across all these various watersheds. For World Water Day, we've had a couple of online events during COVID, but before that, we used to travel around and visit you personally. Some members and from the Toronto area may remember when I presented to O'Connor, Dr. Deb Denard, Anishinaabe water teacher, who I shared the space with. And so she is one of our pre-recorded guests today, who decided to do a sort of a water prayer for you today, a special thing for you, a short video, 2 minutes. And so I just wanted to play that, and then we'll go back to our program here. So if you're just joining, we're going to try to keep ourselves muted. We've got a full program of presentations, songs, prayers, artwork, slides to help us, connect with the theme this year, which is honoring the value of water. At the very end, I will share a couple of updates about the Blue Communities Project. But I just wanted to extend again a thanks to everybody who joined today. I know it's beautiful outside, and so you've chosen to spend some time today to be together on World Water Day, united as a Blue community. So I will share Deb Denard's video now.
Through water, we connect to the sky realm, thunderbirds dancing, keeping balance. The women lift their copper vessels, hold water, speak to water. Water governs us, sustains us, teaches wisdom, love, courage, truth, respect, humility, honesty. From drought, floods, destruction, the power beyond human capacity to control. The star realm responds, you do not govern our Earth Mother, she governs us, teaches us to care for her, unconditional in her love. What we do to the water, we do to ourselves. Man-made dams and structures stagnates her lifeblood, throws her off balance, straining under the pressure. False promises of a good life, rooted in capitalism and industry, leaves us thirsty. Where does the water flow from? We are governed by the water. What we do to the water, we do to ourselves. Be the water.
Apologies, that first part, I forgot to press the last button where it said share. So apologies on that. So that was a beautiful short video by Dr. Deb Denard, who shared the space with me when I presented in Toronto, which was probably about 2 years ago. It's been a while since I visited many of you because of the distances and also because of COVID. And so I wanted to give you just a quick heads up of where our program is at. We are in, here, I'll do this again. There we go. And then this time I'll hit the share button. We're working our way through this program of abundance here. We've heard from many of you, some of you already, and we will be connecting with the Crashing the Darkness reflection and photos by Sister Donna Smith coming up next. Then I'll go back to some pre-recorded videos by Mike Bulkwell from the Wellington Water Watchers and Elder Dorothy Taylor from Curve Lake, which is just north of where I am here in Peterborough. And then we'll hear from Sister Anne and the Sister Bonnie. And so we'll work our way through. And so I'll come back to this list a little later, but that's just to give you a bigger picture. And again, we've got some more songs coming up. We've got Wade in the Water coming by Sister Loretta wants to share. And then I'll close. I've got an image if there's time. I will show you a piece of art that I made myself. And so without any more of that, let's go over to Sister Donna's Crashing the Darkness. Sister Donna, are you there?
Yes.
Great. Do you
I'm here.
Wonderful. The stage is yours.
Okay, so the piece that I'm about to share comes from a moment of connectedness with how the water talks to us. It is also how we want to listen to the call of nature around us. So this is from February 17th, when we were in lockdown here, and we were spending our time here at the villa here in Coburg by the lake. So it's crashing in the darkness. Have you ever sat and just listened to waves lapping against the shoreline? Yes. What about on a very cold winter's night, and the water is meeting the ice cap that has formed along the shoreline? Imagine the sound of geese off to the west and a distant train echoing through town. But what I hear the most is the unique sound of water splashing over the ice along the banks of Lake Ontario. It is like an unfolding roll of thunder, not an unpleasant noise, but a sound that is intriguing and mysterious to listen to. It is quiet, then suddenly a wave hits the ice cap, sprays over it, and ebbs back into the lake. Isn't that how our mind works some days? Our minds are quiet, then without prelude, we are awash with a flood of thoughts and emotions, disquieting our stillness, awakening us from our darkness, or maybe even bringing the darkness with it. How do we cope with this intrusion in our minds? Do we accept it and carry on? Or do we meander over each new thought and emotion? Each time we experience this differently, but we must never let these moments overwhelm us. We are invited to sift out what is good and carry that forward, perhaps especially these days of isolation. It is in these moments that God speaks to us if we are truly listening with the heart. It is in this darkness that we may crash about, but we never, if open, are beaten. Rather, in these moments, we are offered opportunities to draw us closer to what really matters in our life. Our families, our friends, our contacts, but most of all, the beauty of creation, faith and values of God. So let's take the time and listen to the darkness and what is crashing about. We will never know what God wants us to hear when we cannot see it in the light of day. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Donna. There's so much creativity. And when the steering committee and I were thinking of today's format, this idea of various expressions, creative expressions for honoring the value of water, I think came up. And it's just been such rich so far to sort of see all the variety and the depth of those expressions. So I wanted to say thanks to people participating and also my steering committee for the Blue Community Project, which includes Sister Loretta and Bonnie Chesser and Cargis and Violet, this associate, and Rita and Jennifer and Cicely, Sister Cicely. And so, we meet every 6 weeks to think about, where we've come from and where we want to go. And yeah, just want to say thanks to many of you who are on the call here today as well. And a lot of our work involves collaboration with other groups. And so our short video messages are from some of those collaborators, as I mentioned. And so we've been working a lot with Wellington Water Watchers over the last couple of years. They had a big event last week. I'm not sure if anybody went to it. It's called Troubling the Waters of Nestle's Troubled Waters. And so I asked Mike to say a few words to wish you all some words for World Water Day, and also Elder Dorothy Taylor. So I'll play those two video clips back to back, and then we'll come back to our live program here. So, and this time I'll make sure I hit the share button properly. So here we go. Nope, that's not gonna do it.
Hi, I'm very pleased to be talking on World Water Day with the Sisters of the Federation of St. Joseph, who are good friends, good allies of the Wellington Water Watchers, and are good companions with us as we move towards water justice. My name is Mike Bulkwell. I work as the campaign director for the Wellington Water Watchers. My job involves working with residents and citizens of small grassroots groups to protect water in their community when it's under threat. I've been asked today to speak a bit about the value of water. And I think I'm going to start, well, as we all know, water is essential. It's essential to life. Water is life. And water is a spiritual relative, a spiritual component of life. Life is creation. A challenge for us all is that that's a relationship that's become distant for some of us. I think particularly in our work, I notice that most in people in urban communities. I live in Toronto myself. I don't really think about water very much. I take it for granted. And part of the education for me in my work is I work a lot in rural communities who are dependent on groundwater, or in cities like Guelph and Stratford, which are 100% dependent on the aquifer for their clean water. So water is valuable because it is essential. It's essential to our daily lives. It's essential to our culture. It's essential to our spiritual well-being. In the capitalist economic system in which most of us operate, this value is recognized by corporations that want to control water. They want to control access to it, whether it's by bottling it, whether it's by privatizing public sanitation and drinking water systems in North America, in Europe, in the global South. And it's recognized by Wall Street, which has now for the first time begun offering trading in water futures. Companies like Nestle bottle water, and more importantly to them, want to control access to water, whether it's through owning the land over top of the aquifer from which they take the water, whether it's controlling permits, controlling contracts. And as I speak to you now, we're witnessing Nestle, the global multinational, selling their North American operations, which includes bottling facilities and wells in the US and Canada, to a private equity firm, One Rock Capital, One of the things that's striking about this deal, which is not yet concluded, but has been announced, is that One Rock Capital is not a beverage company. They're not a bottling company. They're a private equity company. Private equity companies seek to do two things. They seek to make money on, well, they seek to do one thing, which is to make money on their investment. And there are a couple of ways they can do that. One way is by stripping away the costs of the operations that they buy, so they can reduce the cost and sell them, perhaps break them up into pieces and sell them off for big profits. We are concerned and should remain deeply concerned about the increasing privatization and corporate control of water. On the positive side, as Maud Barlow says, water is a unifying value. It's a unifying source. Its essentiality makes it a connecting point between diverse peoples, between diverse cultures. I've recently read Nick Estey's book. I think it's called Our History is Our Future, in which he grounded the Standing Rock demonstrations of a couple of years ago in the historical struggle against colonization and in protection of the Missouri River. It was deeply moving, it was deeply interesting. I'm more familiar with the experience of colonization in Canada than I am in the US, so I learned a lot. But he draws a very powerful thread from the history of those peoples in the Missouri area to the present and their struggle, and that water and land, but water most importantly, and their relationship to the Missouri River, is at the heart of it. And as we know, the Standing Rock demonstrations brought together diverse peoples from across North America, across Turtle Island, from Europe. People came from Ireland, people came from Palestine, because they could make the connections between the history and experience of colonization in North America to their experiences and the universal need to protect water. I discovered this in my own work working with the Wellington Water Watchers. It's a regular occurrence that people who have really had very limited connection to environmental protection work become very active in protecting water in their community. In that way, it is unique and is valuable as a source of activism, a source of struggle, a source of spiritual reconnection, and as we talk increasingly, as an intersection and place of working towards water justice. In closing about the special value of water, I'm reminded of a comment Franklin Frederick, who's a Brazilian now living in Switzerland, made when he visited us here in Canada as part of a All Eyes on Nestle conference. He put the essential water of nature in, forgive the pun, a universal context. He said that the location of the earth as it circles the sun is in a very unique location. If it was a little closer, the earth would be so hot, water would evaporate. If it was a little farther, it would be so cold that water would freeze. But earth is rotates around the sun in a sweet spot where the water is liquid. Of course, in the context of our climate, it can freeze, it can evaporate, but it's contained in our atmosphere in a way that it can be liquid. This is very special. It's very valuable. This is something to cherish. On World Water Day, I invite all of us to remember how important water is and to cherish it. Thank you.
A happy World Water Day. My name is Dorothy Taylor, and I'm a band member of Curve Lake First Nation. I'm going to introduce myself in the language, and I'm also going to say happy World Water Day in a Ojibwe. So, Nahabojo, Nindendaganak, Nimki Kapaneshi Quandish Nakas, Wapagog Dodem, Washkikamong Donjama, Gitchanandam Sanongam, Nagishagat Gujing, Gitchanandam, Maujaga, Nebe Jesus. So that's the literal translation. But I guess I'm the founder of one of the founders of the Sacred Water Circle, which is a volunteer group of multi-faith members, and our vision statement talks about says, you know, leading inspired by Indigenous teachings, leading with prayer and spiritual courage, the Sacred Water Circles sees a renewed relationship between the human family and water. So in terms of Indigenous teachings, they say that our stories tell us that you know, the veins of the Mother Earth is the water bodies of water. So that includes the lakes, the rivers, the oceans, the brooks, even the water that falls from the sky. So to us, that is the veins of Mother Earth. And we believe that water has a spirit. Water is alive. Water has a memory too. And it goes beyond the fact that it's a chemical compound of H2O, or even a commodity to be bought and sold. Like, you know, it just makes me say, when even beyond that, actually, when you can walk into your local Walmart and buy 24 bottles of water for $2. Like, what is that? Just open your tap. I guess some of us don't have that luxury, really. I'm from Curve Lake, and we've had a boil water advisory for going on 12 years now, which we are trying to address with the federal government, and we will do that eventually. But in terms of the value of water, what I just mentioned before, that, you know, it is, when you're talking about the veins of something, that means it's like the real essence of the person's life, of something's life. So the fact that we as a community, we, you know, have been, we have you know, polluted the water with sewage, whether it's treated or untreated, or chemicals, or garbage, or plastic. You know, it really is, when you're thinking about it in those terms of, like, water is alive, water is the veins of Mother Earth, and that we just throw without any double thoughts of doing that. It's really very much, in my own words, it's insane. So, but what I'm here to share with you today is that it's been my pleasure and honor to work with various organizations and different Native communities. And we have, I've heard some of those elders, particularly those that have prophecies, and the Hopi people have said that, you know, that a change has come and has been made by humanity, and we have chosen a path of peace, of harmony, of love, and with that becomes the treating the earth in a better way. In the Ojibwe tradition, among the Anishinaabe, we call ourselves, our stories and our responsibilities lie with the women of our villages. So women, and women in general, doesn't matter if you're Native or Indigenous or not, you are responsible for the caretaking of that water. And many of us, and maybe some of you are in positions of power and influence that make decisions on behalf of water. But the most profound way, the most amazing, strong way to help that water is through the prayer of gratitude. So that's what I'm going to share with you today, a prayer of gratitude for the water. In our language, we call it midday wobble. Midday wobble is water that is held in a copper vessel, and we approach the Creator in thanksgiving. And we just say some beautiful words to the Creator and to Ishkakamekwe, who is Mother Earth. And so I'll share that with you now. Okay. Nahao Bojo Gishamanado Gizagan Kinsakausha Tuyan Gamijan Miquachka Minapamazion Minga Nasewin Miquachka Shkakamekwe Gizagan Kinsakausha Tuyan Gamijan Miquach au debe the Namata Mensa in a bit. Shanats Toyon in a bit. We do Quishnan, Jigin Wendabon in the bit. Panakam Nagame. Chimiquach Kishamnado. Minawaga Minapamazion. Na Sewin Nebe. Minawa Miquach. Hashwiminish na Shamanado, Hashwiminish na Miquach. Miquach, Miquach, Miquach. So basically that prayer was taught to me by my father, and his name was Fred McHugh. And he said, you know, this is a prayer of thanksgiving, a prayer asking for help that we can do the work on behalf of the water, so that'll now and forever run clear and clean through the veins of our mother, now and forever onto 7 times 7 generations. We think that way as Indigenous people, traditionalists anyways, and we say, you know, any decisions we make on that will affect our community or our people. We don't think of only how it's going to affect us today, but how it'll affect the lives of those who are yet to be born. So I really want to send greetings and good health to you. I really admire the Sisters of Saint Joseph, and I love you very much. Naha miigwat gawabmen pi minawa.
Okay, that's Elder Dorothy Taylor, who some of you may know from the Peterborough area. She co-presented with me a couple of years ago at the Sister House there on Monaghan, and I've worked with her in the past as well. And I think it's good that she reminded me, at least, that again, most of this water work is led by women like yourselves and her, with the Sacred Water Walks and so a lot of the water activism. There was an event last Thursday that Wellington Water Watchers was a part of. Maybe some of you were, if you were, maybe let us know in the chat box. But there was all these North American struggles regarding water justice, and most of them were led by women. Doesn't matter if it was the East Coast, the West Coast, in Canada, or in the States. They were all sort of women-led, speaking about the value of water. We are next going to go to Sister Anne with her presentation about sacred waters, healing waters, living waters. I'm going to do a slideshow that she has prepared, and she will speak over that with her voice. And then after that, I thought I put these two together. Sister Bonnie's going to speak about an event that she was a part of this weekend at a well at the Public Works Peace plant in Sudbury. So first we'll hear from Sister Anne, and then we'll hear from Sister Bonnie. I hopefully everyone's got their technology sort of figured out, and yeah, this is how it's going to go. So, Sister Anne, are you there? One second.
Sorry, I had to remember to unmute myself.
And I had to remember to share the screen. Okay. I got it. I think I've got it. And yes, okay.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Yeah, at one of our recent meetings, we talked about water as being sacred, and how sometimes we don't give it that much as much a focus because we're so concerned about the kind of water, the quality of water, and the issues around it. So it got me thinking. We talked about some trips and pilgrimages to sacred water places and places of healing. And what came to mind is Jacob's well. We often hear about Jacob's well, Jacob being the grandson of Abraham. And it's a well that's significant for Christians, Jews, and Muslims. All three faiths share a value of it. However, and it touches both the physical needs and spiritual needs and provided fresh water. But it also triggers that memory in our story of the place of encounter where Jesus met the Samaritan woman and held his conversation with her. So as a place of encounter, and the words of, I will give water that will become a spring welling up to eternal life. So Paul, do you have the picture there of the encounter? Yeah, thank you. So further thinking upon wells, it led me to think of how little I'm actually in touch with them in my own life. And when we think of a well, it's probably more of a big commercial operation and lots of machinery and more places to be kept away from rather than to go to visit. Then I also thought of different traditions, the Irish traditions that speak about holy wells, and many places in Ireland where there will be a well, and probably Bridget's well. Paul, you have that?
Is it this one we see or is it the next one?
No, it's the next one.
Okay.
Sacred places, a famous healing. People visit, make pilgrimages to places of wells. The most popular one that we are aware of is probably Lourdes. So, Paul?
On it.
Okay, thank you. So the original picture of Lourdes, going back to 1858, before it became such a noted place of a shrine, and many healings take place and people come from all over on pilgrimages today. And throughout Europe, there's lots of wells and holy places that are recognized and people go on pilgrimages to. When I think of Canada, what places might we have in Canada? So Paul, the next picture. There's a place in Alberta, it's called Lac Sainte Anne in English, and it's a popular place of pilgrimage for Indigenous peoples, particularly on the Feast of Saint Anne on July 26th, the grandmother of Jesus. And so it's been a place traditional for many generations of peoples, but even before the Catholic Church became involved with the mission there, it was called God's Lake by the Alex Nakota Sioux Nation. And by the Cree who lived there, it was called Spirit Lake. So there was two different names, and today, currently, we would know it as Lac Sainte Anne, and Place of Healing. I myself have had the privilege of being there, not when it was a crowded place, but to say that I've been there and went into it. So these are lakes, places where of encounter, and that's how I'm seeing sacred water as a place of encounter. Paul, I'm not sure if I have another picture there or not of another lake in Saskatchewan.
Yep.
Yes, called Manitou Lake. And I had just heard about this last year in Watrous in Saskatchewan, where again, there were some cures, but it's known as Canada's Dead Sea because it's a salt lake. It's the only one in Canada. So people go there more as a resort and spa for healing. Other faith traditions also have their places of sacred water, the Ganges River in India. And water is considered sacred in the Bible and in Quran. Now, this sparked me to wonder, well, what's the closest place of pilgrimage or sacred water that might be near me, or a well or a spring? So good old Google. I wanted to find if there was a natural spring to visit. And so in Peterborough, I found this one out on Chemong Road. You can see it's connected to a hose there. and the water flows from the hose into people's jugs. It's on private property, but right on the waterfront or on the road front, and anybody can stop by and get water for free. So I wanted to go and see who might I meet at the well, building that idea of a pilgrimage, place of encounter. And so the day I went, I met this woman, Laura, who was filling up several jugs. I think she may have had 6 big blue jugs that she was filling up. And her son was in the car with her waiting. But she was there because they have no water. She said, I think they had bought a property recently and the pipes had frozen, and so they had no water. So she comes to that well several times a week, probably every second day, to get water for the family. But what was of more interest to me was that moment of encounter where 2 strangers meet and it becomes like, who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? And just the delightful surprise, because we've been so locked up by COVID, I guess, too, that we're craving to meet strangers. And I met Laura. And so as it turns out, she has 10 aunties back in Ireland. And she was looking for some mass cards that she could get for them. So I'm able to provide that for her. And in turn, she's a poet and does word poetry, speaking the word. And so she as well has offered to come and give us lessons or do some workshops for us in the future. So it was just one of those delightful moments of encounter, and the sacredness of the water came in that quality of it. I brought back a jug of water. I went out there again on Friday, or yesterday actually, and brought back some fresh spring water that I will have by our statue of Mother St. John Fontbonne. And yesterday too, just talk about healing water. I enjoyed going out to the Trent Canal just to sit by the water as a place of calm. And you know, in the summer we can sit and watch the grass grow. In winter we can sit and watch the ice melt. And so the sacred places of contemplative prayer beside the water. So thanks, Paul, for showing the slides as I walk through them, and encourage each of us to find our sacred spaces of encounter.
Thank you so much. I learned so much seeing that all, Sister Anne. So, and actually I remembered, I was told a long time ago that my grandmother actually visited Lourdes to ask for a blessing. One of her sons was born with a disability. And so she made the pilgrimage to Lourdes probably in the 60s, would have been in the 60s, because they lived in England. So yeah, personal family story with going to the powers of Lourdes. We're next going to go over to Sister Bonnie to talk about another sort of honoring the waters in a well, from a well source, with a shared experience this past weekend. Bonnie, are you there?
I am.
Okay, I think I've got the photographs here as well, so maybe you just go right ahead.
I will. And Anne, thank you so much because Anne, our conversation at the Blue Community meeting the last month inspired Violet to give me a call last Thursday to say that she had talked to a woman inquiring where we had wells in Sudbury. And this lady told her that there was this public works place down by Ramsey Lake. And so Violet said, well, maybe next year we could do something. And I said, well, why wait till then? And so Violet and I kind of got our heads together, and you don't have me here, but I have the poster here that we have that said water's the first medicine, and the other side that says water's a human right, a sacred gift, a shared common. And so we decided that what we would do is I would photocopy both sides of this and laminate this and that we would put it on the window of this building that houses where the pump comes in from Ramsey Lake. And we would gather our group together. We phoned a few people and we ended up with 12. I thought of the 12 apostles, 12 women gathered around that sacred site. We had a little bit of a prayer. There was an Indigenous woman, a friend of Violet's, that came, and she did, she's doing it right here, blessing the 4 directions. And at the end of that, she had this jar of sacred water. And she said normally at a gathering like that, she would have a little bit of water that she could pour into each of our hands that we could drink, but because of COVID, we couldn't do that. So she drank a little bit of it, and then she went down to the water and she poured the rest of the water into the lake. And I followed her around and did a picture of that. On the left-hand side of this, Violet wrote a beautiful thank you note to the city workers for their care of water. And we all signed it. And I said to Violet, you know, I'm going to contact somebody at the city that we met about 2 years ago to talk about Blue Community. Her name was Jennifer Babin-Fensky. And I said, I want to let you know what we're going to do, just so that when the workers come in, they think that somebody didn't do something obscene. So anyway, she emailed me back and she said, would you send me an email of what you're going to do, which I did. And she forwarded it to another lady who works directly with water. And her response was one of gratitude. She said, the only time we seem to hear from the public is when there are problems. And it's going to be so lovely to hear that they are hearing words of gratitude. So it was a wonderful gathering with us. And I made up there, Sister Marilyn on the left there. There's that on the left-hand side, is this lady down by the water, pouring the water into the lake there. Now, Marilyn informed me that along the water shore, there's all kinds of benches that we can come down and sit by the water. It's something that she and her friend, Sister Miriam, used to do regularly, get a cup of coffee and come down and sit by the water or bring their lunch. And so it informed me of one of the sites that I can do in the summertime to be close to the water. So it was just a lovely, spontaneous event. Oh, the other thing was when I arrived, Ruth Ann, who is second from the left there, I met a lady in the parking lot and I introduced myself and she did. And Ruth told her what we were doing. And we said, do you want to join? And she said, well, I don't want to interfere. We said, you'd be very, very welcome. And that's her, the last person on the right. So she stayed, you know. So when Anne talked about the meeting of strangers, this one lady came and joined and stayed with us at the whole event. And people shared stories about the gift of water in their lives. So it was a wonderful kind of spontaneous event.
Wow, so inspiring. And such just taking it and going with it. The group of you, one idea leads to another, the encounter theme yet again. Wow. Any for any of these presentations, please, I know we're on a limited we're not online environment, but if you have anything that any reflections or responses to the presenters, please let us know afterwards or in the chat box here. You can always email me and I will share that with people, info@bluecommunitycsj.org, or please use the chat box today to give the presenters any feedback or that you're thinking. I know I get a chance after each presentation to say a few words, but I don't want to be the only one. So thank you again for just Bonnie and all the volunteers, such as Violet, the idea with the original idea, which came out of one of our meetings. I wanted to pop over to 2 more pre-recorded videos by some of our collaborators over the years. And next you're going to hear from Bruce McComber, who also is in Sudbury. So we just came from Sudbury. We're going to stay in Sudbury for a bit longer with Bruce, and then over to John Miller from Water First. They each have some special words of thanks to the Sisters of St. Joseph for World Water Day.
Ani Buju, Bruce McCumber, Indigenous Cause. My name is Bruce McCumber. I am Indigenous, First Nation. My father is a member of Wikwemkong on Manitou Island, lived there for a number of years. Growing up, was definitely active in the Catholic Church growing up as well through my father and my great grandmother there. We live very close to the Holy Redeemer Church, historic church on Manitou Lake. My mother is a member of Ganawage First Nation just outside of Montreal. Those are the communities, First Nation communities that I have a connection to. I was asked to speak or share a few words by Paul uh, about the importance of water to me personally. And I suppose from a biological perspective, it's absolutely vital that we have water and clean water in particular, and that I have spent water is so important to me that I've spent a considerable amount of time in my adult life organizing rallies and doing uh, participating in types of initiatives that would help bring um, protection to water, I suppose is one way to describe it. During 2012 and 2013, there was a movement called I Don't Know More. During I Don't Know More, I led the rallies locally or regionally in Sudbury, Espanola, and elsewhere, and a big focus on I Don't Know More was the removal through legislation of the protection for drinking water in various parts of Canada. So that was my introduction to activism, so to speak. And since then, I've participated in a number of initiatives specifically related to water. One of the highlights that sticks out for me in terms of uh, some of the actions I participated in for the protection of water is when there was a few oil spills near Gogama, and there was an issue around the safety of tankers, oil tankers, and the outdated technology that they used in order uh, to transport their product. And so we had a little rally here next to Ramsey Lake in Sudbury, and my two younger sisters, who were 10 and 6 at the time, were interviewed by the Sudbury Star and on the front page. So that was an exciting time for them, and I was glad I was able to instill a little bit of advocacy into the younger generation. And I believe that the quote from the quote from my 6-year-old cousin at the time is, if we can't protect our local water, how can we expect to help other people protect their water in other places? So that message can definitely go or be applied to Canadians in general, that if we aren't able to do the requisite work internally, nationally, provincially, to emphasize the importance of a sacredness of water, then how are we going to help other parts of the world maintain or keep their water clean? I think that the Catholic Church is a very powerful institution, that the sisters and their associate staff, others related to the organization, have a very strong influence in this world and can certainly help advocate for clean water for the future. One of the main things that I think is important for this period in time is to hold the government accountable to their promise to end the boil water advisories for First Nation communities in Canada. Thank you very much. I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you, Paul. Thank you to the Sisters St. Joseph. Miigwech.
Hi, I'm John Miller. I'm the Executive Director and founder at Water First, and I'm happy to join you today. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the value of water. We spend a lot of time thinking about this, and I suppose at times taking for granted the value of water, because I think ultimately it comes down to where you sit. The value of water is fairly complex. And you know, where I live in Creemore, Ontario, where the water quality and the safety of the water is about as bulletproof as it gets. It's very reliable, and of course, I think it's pretty easy to take for granted as a result of that. I think at a deep level, we all understand the very profound value of water. We're made up of water. We are, you need it to survive. You know, all those things are quite clear to most people. But still, when it can be very easy to take for granted. Of course, in contrast to my own experience, is the experiences of far too many individuals in Indigenous communities across Canada, where it's actually very difficult, if not impossible, to take for granted the value of your water, clean drinking water, not being available in all Indigenous communities across Canada. And so in that context, you know, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to take the value of water for granted. When you can't turn on your tap and trust what's coming out of it, it's you know, it's a profoundly different experience than the one that I enjoy here. I think there's as an education and training organization, of course, there's always a lens here at Water First where we're focused on the people behind the water. And you know, looking at the value of water and the role that people play in that, I think it's fairly clear that, especially in urban environments or, you know, towns and villages, that the role that people play in the value of water is actually very, very important. If you'd imagine, you know, two glasses of water, one's filthy and not looking very safe to drink, and the next one is crystal clear and looks like the kind of water that I can pour into my tap here, I think we all know which one we'd reach for at a moment of thirst. And the attributes of that clean glass of water, because of the people behind it that have worked hard to keep it safe, make it safe, and get it to my tap. I think of course, we're quite focused on that role, the role of people in water treatment and water systems, environmental water, stewardship, source water protection, lakes and rivers, and keeping them clean. And it's you know, it's a very important role, and we often hear a lot about the infrastructure in Indigenous communities. The physical pieces of equipment that are necessary to produce clean drinking water, but they're not sufficient on their own to produce clean drinking water, clean, safe, reliable drinking water. The people run water plants. People work on source water protection plans. People safeguard rivers and lakes in order to help prevent degradation to water quality. And so I'd like to sort of tip my hat to the people behind the clean water that some of us are fortunate enough to take for granted, and tip my hat to the individuals working really hard everywhere, coast to coast to coast in Canada, and Indigenous communities, of course, where the job is challenging. Many of our Indigenous community partners acknowledge that there are fantastic individuals working at the community level, doing the best they can with the resources that they have, and many of those communities would also welcome more young Indigenous adults to enter the field of water science, drinking water treatment and environmental water stewardship. So hats off to those water professionals. And yeah, I think it's just really important to also focus on the people behind the value of water, because it's a really important role. So on that, I'd like to say happy World Water Day, and thanks for inviting me to speak. And may we all keep in mind the good work that goes behind keeping water safe and clean and reliable. And with that, happy World Water Day. Thank you.
So many of you may have heard from John before or heard of Water First, but if not, that was a good introduction to that what they're doing. We are working our way through our program. Today's theme was definitely full of abundance when it comes to the value of water. There's lots to share. We just heard from people honoring the wells and the waterworks. We are going to go over now to Sister Loretta to speak about a song that's important to her. And I haven't got much of a slide here. I've got the song, sorry. So Loretta, do you want to unmute yourself?
I'd like to introduce it a bit, Paul, before you play it. When we were talking about the value of water and how to celebrate today, I was recalling an experience of trying to work with a group of students to teach them about how to engage with the symbol of water in the sacrament of baptism. And we were trying to unpack the richness of that symbol. One of the students shared with me his own personal experience of leaving a very oppressive homeland, getting on a boat and traveling to a newfound land where his home would become such a sense of freedom for him. And his words of how he described that experience of the water being the vessel that brought him to freedom has always touched me. So as I was thinking about today, I thought, well, I know there are other ways people express the value of water as freedom. And I immediately turned to that song, Wade in the Water. In that spiritual, we know that the words would have double meanings for the slaves. And I'll just read from this little quote. Wade in the Water was used as a freedom song, and to escape the slaves, the song would hold them, excuse me, I'll start again. To the escaping slaves, the song told them to abandon the path and move into the water. And this is the interesting thing. By traveling along the water's edge or across a body of water, the slaves would throw the chasing dogs off their scent, and their masters or their keepers would lose the scent as well. So that the water, the powerful, overwhelming experience of being engaged in the water brought them to freedom. And I just wanted you to enjoy this lovely setting of Wade in the Water.
Okay. Thanks for that introduction. And we'll have a bit of a musical interlude before we go to one of our last speakers. And we may go 5 minutes over time today. So if you do have to go, go. But if you can stay, please do stay. And there will be some updates to follow as well. So here's our song.
Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See that band all dressed in white. God's gonna trouble the water. The leader looks like the Israelite. God's gonna trouble the water. Ooh, wade in the water. Oh, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. Gods are gonna trouble the water. Oh, see that band all dressed in red. Gods are gonna trouble the water. Ooh, it looks like the band that Moses led. Gods are gonna trouble the water. Oh, whoa, 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 wade in the water. Oh, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God is gonna trouble, yes he will. The water. Oh, God is gonna trouble. God's gonna trouble the water. There's healing in the water, yeah, the water. Deliverance in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. My God is gonna trouble the water.
Thanks for that beautiful addition, Sister Loretta. Nice to have the music there as well as all the other creative expressions we've had today on the value of water. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody else did as well. We are almost at the end of our program. And so I appreciate your spending some time today with each other on this topic. And we've got just, I think, 2 or 3 more short presentations. I don't know if Betty Lou is there, but you did want to speak to the group. And so you can go now, or you can go after our next video pre-recorded guest, Sister Betty Lou. Are you there? Okay. Maybe they'll come in.
Okay, here I am.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I'll spotlight you. Great. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, what I want to show is the first week of the lockdown. I was in Sacramento flying that day, March the 13th, and I had to go to be in hibernation up to Invermera, which is not a bad place, for 2 weeks. So one of the first days I was there, I really noticed a tree that I've seen for umpteen years in front of the statue of St. Joseph. Many of you have been up to Invermera. And in that tree, I saw an image, which was this. Can you see it? So the image was an Indigenous woman that I saw, and as I took the photo, and I prayed there many days, and I just heard her saying, "I thirst." And so we've heard that word thirst at least 3 or 4 times this afternoon, and by Mary Rowell and by Dorothy. And I just hope that as a Blue community, that we really can collaborate with the Indigenous people and with all forms of government, that we really can take a stand for safe water, and clean water for the Indigenous people of our own country, and other people too who are suffering the same thing. So remember, perhaps, I thirst. Also, I don't know if all of you knew about our novena during our 170th anniversary. It's not too late. If you didn't make it, you could get the 9 days of input, which is beautifully done and shared information. And one of the days in particular is done on water. And John Miller is featured on one of them. Grandma Moses, or Josephine rather, is on another. And the Amazon is there. There are many things on that novena. You can get it at our website, www.csj-to.ca. look under 170th or news. That's www.csj-to.ca. Thank you.
I'm so glad we got to hear your voice there, Betty Lou. Yes, thanks for your painting and for the update about what's happening in Toronto. I think, again, hopefully the Blue Community Project is a great sort of, united way in which the Federation can work across all these different watersheds and all this talent, all this creative talent. I'm going to quickly go to our last pre-recorded video. Many of you in the London area would remember a young woman named Layla George, who co-presented with me about 2 years ago. She actually was there with her dad that day. And so I wouldn't mind dedicating this short video to her dad. Her dad passed away about 6 months ago, and she continues to carry his memory in the work that she does. And she has a special message for you all on World Water Day today as well. And so here we go with our last pre-recorded video.
Sego Segoli, my name is Lila George. My spirit name is Yayat Delinia. It means she draws or she's an artist. I'm of the Wolf Clan and I'm from 6 Nations. I was asked to say a few words about World Water Day and what it means to me. And I want to share with you all that what it means to me is exactly like we say, water is life. It's the blood of the earth. It runs through the veins of our planet. It feeds our plants. It feeds our water life. It feeds our 4-legged, our 2-legged, and we ourselves are made of water. When we bring life into this world and we carry our children in our wombs, it's the water that keeps that baby safe. And when we birth that baby, the baby comes from the sack of water. Everything that makes this planet go round is water. Our oceans create oxygen for us to breathe. The water feeds our trees so that it can give us CO2 and oxygen. Clean water is very important when it comes to where I come from on reserves. It isn't offered to my people as a human right, I feel. We are drinking a lot of water that isn't good for us. We don't have the proper systems to run the water to our homes that give us clean, fresh water. We have to have that water brought in by bottles, and we are constantly fighting for our rights to have clean water. And it's not just an issue for Indigenous people, but it's an issue around the world and in a lot of countries where, they're going days and days without clean water and starvation. So water to me is everything about life. It is the most precious resource that we have around the planet worldwide. And I feel like we need to put that first for everyone, every human, every wildlife, everything that's living on this planet. It all revolves around water. I've done a lot of work raising awareness around water issues, and it shouldn't be that way. With COVID happening, it's brought a major halt to a lot of issues because we're in this pandemic, and there's a lot of, I feel like I've had to really kind of take a seat to take care of my family, and it's really hard to do that when you feel like you want to change things, or you want to get out there and be a part of that change. For me, our water, I live in town, and I don't feel comfortable drinking the tap water that comes out of the tap in my home in town. We actually have a filtration system that we use called a Berkey, and it has a charcoal filter. And for me, when I think about that system, I think about how many homes that could change on my reserve if every household had that filtration system in their home. Things would be a little bit better. Right now, there's every 3 weeks they're spending $15,000 on my reserve just in water, bottled water, every 3 weeks. I believe it's every 3 months they're spending $60,000, give or take, on bottled water. If we had better solutions, like a filtration system in each home, we could take away all of those bottles of water. How many bottles of water would that remove from our dump? And the dump is another issue. So it's been really hard to, I guess, take action in the way that I'm used to taking action, which is using my voice and, you know, standing strong on the street, doing a march or rally, something to raise awareness when it comes to clean water. It seems like our water issues aren't something that are local to us, but 20 minutes from here, we have people living with water that isn't clean, that comes out of their taps very hard with lime, that are, you know, clogging up their filtration systems, or, you know, giving them skin problems. It's not something that is out of the country or far away from here. It's literally just down the Thames River. It's just down the road, 20 minutes from here. We have people living with water issues. And if we supported them and learned, just by even learning about the water issues that are just down the river, not far from here, it's not something that is so far away that it doesn't affect our people, because it does. It affects everyone. There's a few things. I do a lot of craft works and craft work. I make mugs, and I like painting, and I sew and I bead, and a lot of the things that I have made, or some of the things I've made, have been like a statement jewelry or a statement item, where I'll have like water is life on a tote bag, just to raise awareness. And, you know, when people see that, they're like, hey, they'll say, hey, what does that mean? And it strikes up a conversation. So I put that on a mug, or I'll put it on a tote bag. Or I supported a young lady in BC, and she did a beautiful she did a painting, and she turned them into earrings, and it's an octopus, and it's ocean life. And they out there, they're fighting for their waters, their fishing rights, their pipeline that's going through the ocean that affects the salmon. You know, it's all connected to each other. The picture in the background is of the trees and the river, and it's me. And I had a dream that I was standing by this body of water, and it was a beautiful dream. And I decided I wanted to put it on canvas, so that I didn't forget that dream, because for me, you know, that water means cleansing. It's a cleansing dream. And so I love doing that, and I love raising awareness in that way. If I can't be on the street, you know, with my megaphone, yelling into the crowd, water is life, or something, I stay home and I put that energy into my work. I put it into my mugs, I put it into my earrings. And, you know, if somebody sees my earring or sees a tote bag that I have on, they're like, hey, you know, what does that mean? Or what's that symbol? Or, you know, it strikes up a conversation, and it gives me the opportunity to educate that person about that issue. And it can be about water, or it can be about, you know, something else. Hi, sisters. I just wanted to leave you a message and say thank you very much for asking me to say a few words about World Water Day. I appreciate it, and I hope you all are well and staying safe. And I just wanted to send my love to all of you, and to the ones that I have met and the ones I haven't met, and just sending you lots of love. And thank you again, Yawango, for allowing me and asking me to use my voice in this video. It's very much appreciated. And thank you again for spreading the awareness on World Water Day and about water, and learning about Indigenous issues and about water. And we just truly, truly appreciate everything that you're doing to be a part of this amazing issue, this real issue of water.
Okay, I really wanted to say that near the end there. That was Layla George who's actually living in, when she says in town, she means in London. And when she means down the river, she means the Oneida of the Thames. And so I wanted to thank everybody who shared their voice and their creative expressions today. I'll save this one just for the very end here. I know we've gone a little bit over time. There was such a good response by people who wanted to share, and we only carved out 90 minutes. But I just did a quick collage over the holidays for my mom. This says in the bottom, "Sing Them Home," which is inspired by a poem by the same name by Leanne Simpson regarding the not so distant future where the salmon return to the Otonabee River, which is where I live, and the above images of a salmon, of course. And so I made that little thing for her. And so for me, this was, I guess, my creative expression, expressing that, if the salmon were able to come back to the river, the water would be quite clean and healthy and well respected. So there's a little my creative expression for today. I was going to share some more verbal updates regarding the Blue Communities work, but I think I'll put that into one of my regular newsletters. But every 6 weeks or so, I try to put together like a roundup of what's been going on, either in different watersheds where you are, or Ontario, or the Great Lakes, or globally. But as I mentioned, there is an event April 7th at 10 a.m. with Water Aid Canada. I'll be speaking with them about water as the first medicine and how water and sanitation have been the front line of fighting COVID in many countries across the world, around the world. And there was an event last Thursday about Nestle and this, which Mike Bulkwell talked about, and this private equity firm that's looking to buy the Nestle operations across North America, which connects the Guelph situation, which we may be familiar with many other places in North America where they're doing the same thing or even worse. And there's also been a recent update by the federal government on the reporting of the drinking water advisories, which I'll link to you as well. And there's a really great response by Charlie Angus, the MP up in the Timmins area, regarding the updates that the federal government is giving and holding them accountable to their responsibilities. So I will share those via email with some links and some graphics. There's also a video that Bruce McCumber wanted to share regarding saving Wolf Lake, also north of North Bay, with some threats around mining issues. And so there's lots of various water issues. We do our best to stay abreast of them, to educate ourselves, educate others, and remember, again, the sort of water as a human right, shared commons, and sacred gift. So I want to appreciate you all today for spending a bunch of your afternoon with us, to the presenters, to my steering committee, to the ecology committee, to everybody across the Federation who wants to support this Blue Community Project. Also in the Nestle event, which happened last Thursday, they recorded it. Mard Barlow speaks in that video briefly near the beginning, and she talks about the power of the Blue Communities. If you want to see that video, you can go to our Facebook page, the Blue Community one. I've linked it in there, or the Wellington Water Watchers Facebook page, or I will put it in the email update as well. So on that note, and at this time, 3:45, just want to say thanks and take care of yourselves and your loved ones. And we're doing good work here, and it's being recognized. So, and you have yourselves to congratulate for that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Paul.
Okay.
For all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thank you. You can give a voice shout out or a text or a message if you
Thanks,
like.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
All right, we can all unmute it as well if you want. Everyone just go at once.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Al. Like to see one another as well.
Yeah, it was really nice to see people from other congregations. Yeah.
Here we go. Okay. Well, enjoy the day. The sun is still shining. So here you all are. And there's still lots of us here. So take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
God bless.
Leave me.